Joining us here back on the Rich Eisen Show, Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line, the host of the GM Journey podcast and so much more, my friend Thomas Dimitroff. What's up, Thomas?
Rich, it is so great to hear you, and thanks. It's been a while, and I can't wait to connect.
I mean, let's do it. You remember that time in Los Angeles? It was you and Les and I were all having a drink, and look at Les, man, right? Look at where Les is today. Unbelievable.
Look at Les, effing them picks, being where he is. He is the maverick GM in this league, and I love it. He and I talk more regularly now than we probably ever have, and it's been a really enjoyable journey watching him develop and evolve, man. It's really cool, Rich.
Well, it's the maverick, I guess you're referring to as the effing of picks, that right? But it's not all the picks. Clearly, they make draft choices, and they're important draft choices for him to make and for him and his staff to hit on. But what are you willing to share with everybody about his general managing and his thinking that's led to tonight's banner raising, Thomas?
Well, look, it's a great point, and the way I look at it is, of course, Les knows the importance of personnel, draft-related personnel. He also understands the importance of there are projections. It's one of the most difficult things as a general manager per acquisition. It's projecting in the NCAA into the NFL. And what he has done and his group has done is make sure that they're focusing on the people out there, the free agents that they're acquiring, pay the money for them, don't have any uncertainties about them for the most part, know what they are and what they aren't as the acquisitions that he's made. And if some of those guys aren't, necessarily completely alert in meetings, I won't go into that, they know what it is and they know what to expect. They'll get the most out of that player. And then really focus on those mid-rounds and try to make sure that you're putting the focus on those mid-rounds, get the guys right at the front of the free agency mode. And I think they have a really, really keen approach to this. It's not just relying on the value of draft picks. It's putting the best team together. And I say this time and again, that general manager in this league, I learned this from Bill Belichick, no question. You know your team better than anyone else. Everyone else can project. Les knows all facets of his team. He knows what's best for he and Coach McVay. And I just, again, admiral in his approach.
And when did you first meet him, Thomas? When did he first get on your radar?
Yeah. It's a great point. Les and I ended up meeting way back in the early years of our career. I'd say, man, almost 25 years ago. And we were close. We got along a lot from the standpoint of fitness and eating food. We weren't out there big party guys, but we had a really good interaction with a lot of people in the league. And our focus was on football as well as life in general. And we both always had an interest in trying to grow and professionally develop. And that's where our friendship grew. We ended up communicating in between those times before we even became partners, at the Atlanta Falcons. And to go into the Falcons and Les to be there as my right-hand guy was really, really important at the outset. I needed the right soldiers around me, and Les was great with that early on in that process.
Thomas Dimitroff here on the Rich Eisen Show. So, week one of an NFL season for a general manager. I mean, is your work pretty much done? Practice squad set, roster set. You have to massage the cap a little bit. Maybe you get someone to make. I guess I just saw the Steelers got T.J. Watt's deal kind of redone to give them some more cap room. What does a week one for a general manager mean right now, Thomas?
You know what? Yeah, week one's, Rich. I think, you look at your entire roster, you look at your organization, you're really, really focused on week one and kicking it off in the right way. There's been a lot of talk out there about week one. You're hoping that your head coach as a general manager is going to be really creative with week one. And I think week one presents these teams with the opportunity to be creative. They can throw twists into their approach because there's been nothing really revealed for the most part in the preseason, right? So I think that's an important thing. Regarding roster and roster optimization, to me that is vital. You need to not only see what you have in place, but you also need to continue to look out and always be in front of the curve. That's the way I've always perceived it. And I'm sure in this situation Les does. He looks at what his roster is. He looks at what may be coming up as far as contracts, of course. He's got his staff out on the road already starting their college looks. And he starts putting his mind as a general manager, I'm talking about Les, to see what is out there and what direction he's going to go to fill those ostensible needs down the road with his group. Week one, pressure laden for sure, but you need to kick it off. It's like just putting your feet into it all or dipping your toes into it. Once that starts, you get into a roll. But, man, it is pressure-laden coming into the first game.
And what an off season it was. I mean, we were just talking about it, Thomas, in the first hour, that this is going to be the best NFL season ever because that March where we saw retirements and unretirements, and we saw top-notch A-list players on the move at quarterback, wide receiver, and Bobby Wagner being the last, I guess, move of March. Now he's between Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. Which of the March moments, free agent signings, acquisitions, trades, retirement, unretirement, do you think is the most impactful for the season, where you as a GM get ready for your GM Journey podcast and everything else going on in your world, you're like, that's the one that's the difference maker? Which one?
Wow. Well, there are so many out there, Rich, that I looked at. Like you said, I mean, it's an amazing year. It's fun to watch now, stepping back and to be able to take it all in.
But you may only choose one, Thomas. You may only choose one. That is the construct. I'm putting you in the box. This is Sports Talk Radio, for crying out loud. What do you got for me?
I mean, Russell Wilson, all eyes are on at so many levels on that. If you're referring to something like that,
yes,
it goes way beyond the acquisition for George Payton and the Broncos to do what they perceived as the right thing. To know the repercussions of what's going on in Seattle with John Snyder and company, that is another big deal. There's so much going on there. How it's going to affect the rest of the division, how it's truly going to affect the perception of quarterbacks into their 30s and the payment and the numbers that are going involved. This, to me, is a really interesting crossroads for this week. I go all the way back to when I pulled the trigger on Matt Ryan to give him his final contract when I was there, and we had everyone different levels saying, he only give him 2.95% or 29 and a quarter, and making that decision to go up to $30 million, knowing that right around the corner in the next 2 months someone's going to jet past him. This league is amazing where the money is at all levels, not only with quarterbacks in this situation, with general managers and head coaches. It's amazing to see it. I think Russell Wilson is the one I'm watching closely at all levels.
Well, and then, of course, the Deshaun Watson contract having so many ripple effects, even though Arizona, with one quarterback, and then Denver with another, with Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson, did not fully guarantee the entire deal, the first two. So how do you see that playing out with Eric DeCosta and Lamar Jackson, who set a Friday deadline on getting something done? What's your suss there?
Yeah, and that's an interesting one to watch. They know how important that quarterback is. I mean, personally, I see him playing out. They want to get that deal done, and they should want to get that deal done. He offers so much to that organization. Of course, there are creative elements that come with a quarterback like Lamar. They also know there are challenges. Hopefully they can have the right people around him. I love that organization. I think they're so well thought out. And of course, Eric's going to do the right thing, and I think it's taking care of business as it needs to be done.
So, what do you think it is? What's your assessment of what the holdup is? Because you got again a contract like Watson sitting out there, and then you've got a player representing himself. I imagine you've never had something like that you dealt with back in your day. But what is the issue? Best you can tell.
Personally. Again, I think the issue is making sure that they realize the value of this quarterback, of course,
right.
And they just want to make sure, again, not dealing with agent. I have not dealt with that before. That is new to me. But the idea of being able to jump in and say we are committing for X amount of years to a system and an approach that we know we're going to have to approach with this type of a quarterback, I think that weighs on their mind. I don't think it's that easy, although I think it's really, really important for them to check the box on and make sure it's done here.
Thomas Dimitroff, I'd like you to put your Belichick whisperer hat on, knowing him or being around him for as much as you were back in the day. What do you think is going on with the play calling there? I mean, all of New England is freaking out going into this number 2 season for Mac Jones after a remarkable first year, making the playoffs as a rookie, and Josh McDaniels not being there, handing the play calling off to 2 guys he knows very well, or 1 guy he knows very well, and handing it off to somebody who's never done it before. What do you think his thinking is right now, Thomas?
I believe that, Bill has a very good understanding of what's around him. And that's one of the things that Bill had always taught anyone that comes through there. You know your group. You know your intelligence. First of all, I don't think Bill gives a flip about what any of us think about this. We all know that. And secondly, I think even though there's a whole bunch of banter out there about who should take the lead on it, I think Bill knows deep down that he's going to be the overview of all of this. He's got two really important and smart people in that role, whether they're defensive-minded or offensive-minded. I was curious to see how that was going to play out. And I really believe that, he wants a little bit of the mystery to it. Bill never wants to, if I may speak about him,
yeah.
I don't think he ever wants to reveal anything. And he wants there to be a little bit of mystery to it so that people can't point to any elements of play calling leading into this season.
But wouldn't it be, I guess, I shall have the temerity to question, wouldn't it be more sensible to get somebody who has done it before and bring that person in and teach them the Patriot way, the Belichick way, rather than bringing in somebody who's fully versed on the Patriot way and the Belichick way and handing them the reins of a very important season for their sophomore year quarterback? Thomas.
Yes, I just think with Coach Belichick, I think his approach has always been he knows best, and he's going to be putting his group in the right situation as they are, and whoever he ends up pulling the trigger on the play calling, he's got a plan for that already. And I can't sit there and sort of project why he's doing it necessarily, but for the fact that he knows best. He's already had those guys, I'm sure, on the board many, many times talking about how they would approach it, and I think he's extremely confident with his intelligence level there. And in the end, Bill is Bill. Bill does not think, I believe, that there's anyone in the league that can go toe-to-toe with him per, the logistics and the play calling of his team.
Last one for you, Thomas. I'm going to give you another sports talk radio question, so here we go. You can only choose one roster, the Super Bowl winning roster. What do you take? You can take one roster on the National Football League and say, I will take that roster to win it all. Which roster is it entering week one? What do you got?
Look, I'm a huge fan of both the game tonight, and I'm a big fan of the Bills, and I just think I love where the Bills are right now. I love what they're doing with Brandon being at the lead of it all. I know this isn't roster-related. I love what they're doing with Sean McDermott as a coach GM build. That's a big thing for me. Where they are on the roster with Josh Allen, of course, Stephon Diggs. I mean, look, I just think they are rounded, and they have the approaches they know about. They're going to come with a lot of fierceness to them. And I think they are gung-ho and very, very focused to come in and kick a lot of ass in this situation. I'd go with them.
You like the Bills, just like everybody's on them, and I'm on them too, Thomas. I'm on them too. You just look at the way that they are rostered and put together, and then what beats inside when they actually play the game. It's tough not to take them. It really is.
I agree. I think again. What they're facing, any team coming in with that background and their approach and what they're putting their money into and how they're looking at things and understanding the importance of morale and growth and evolution, that's been fun watching that. And anytime anyone's put together a winning type of team, there are so many layers. Rarely, in my mind, is it luck. Of course, the ball has to bounce your way. But again, you're not only talking about the roster itself, you're talking about how the organization is set up. And I just think the Bills are a class organization with a lot of upside, of course.
By the way, I lied. I have one more. I always have one more. You want to take your best guess on the first situation where a rookie's going to start? You got something for me there? What's your best guess? Could it be your old spot? Pittsburgh? Could it possibly be Tennessee? Washington? What do you got for me on that?
I think it's Pittsburgh. I think they're – well, it's not Pittsburgh, right? No, I don't think so. Let me jump around here.
Sure, go ahead.
Let's talk eventually Pittsburgh. You talking on day one?
No, I'm talking about which, invariably the drafted rookie gets a shot. What do you think? Where do you think the first one is there? Is it Desmond Ridder in your old spot? Could it be Trubisky sitting because they think Pickett's ready? Could it be Sam Howell in Washington? Could it be Malik Willis, who looked terrific in the preseason, but it is preseason? That's I guess those are your options now. These are
great, Rich. Look, I'm going to stay in Atlanta since I'm sitting here down the street from the stadium, And I will say, Ritter, I think Marcus Mariota, great soul, as you know, great person.
Yes.
That organization, I think, believes they know what they have in Marcus, and they know they need to start getting this organization their heads around a growing, prospect for the future. And like we did with Matt Ryan way back, we were very creative with how we put him on the scene early.
Mm-hmm.
We made sure we surrounded him with the right people. They've done a nice job, Terry Fontenot and co., as far as putting together that offensive group after coming off some major moves with the receiver group leaving, of course, and Matt Ryan leaving. I mean, there's a lot around this organization that needs to help Ritter grow, understand the need to increase their run game or improve their run game. That is vital. And I think they're going to go after that a little bit into the season and realize what they have in Desmond.
Speaking of growing and making the most of things, what's going on with Sumer Sports? You're involved in an analytics startup along with your podcast. Is that what you're doing, TD?
I am. Yeah, I am. Rich, the podcast itself, very quickly, GM Journey. I love that. I set out last year to go out and interview 16 or 17 in the spirit of professional development. I didn't want to end up in Burgundy drinking French wine all off season, so I thought I'd go out and spend time with my contemporaries and had a great time there. Learned a lot. That was a great adventure that I had there, and a lot of really cool stuff to share. And by the way, let me add, and I am defending my GM brethren here, I think too often in this league the general managers are marginalized. The general managers bring so much to the table, so much insight and intelligence and direction for this league, and I think too often the owners, the head coach, the quarterback take the stage, and I understand that there is a lot to glean from these GMs. So very, very important as we're moving forward. And, oh, by the way,
yes, sir,
a whole other topic. You get a GM and you get a head coach, that salary gap is huge right now. That's a whole other topic of conversation. Head coaches should be making a lot of money. I get it. There should not be the gap that there is, generally speaking, between the two in my mind. That's one thing. Sumer Sports, if you don't mind me asking or adding, Sumer is a startup company that I joined about 7 or 8 months ago. I'm really excited about being involved with it. Where the world is right now in the league and the evolving elements of data analytics, roster optimization is really key to me and dear to my heart. I think there's a lot to learn and a lot to grow in that area. And quite honestly, versus me going and having an opportunity to be, an assistant GM somewhere or a consultant for one of my buddies at a team, I can learn a lot more in this world for now if there ever were to be another opportunity on my doorstep.
Thomas, you're the best man. Let's stay in touch throughout the season. I'd love to get your thoughts on what we're about to witness. Thanks for the time, brother.
Thank you so much, brother.
That's Thomas Dimitroff. Check out his podcast, the GM Journey podcast, right here on the Rich Eisen Show.